Open this door. Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Do you have a warrant?
We don't need a warrant. Open the door now.
You can't come in without a warrant. This is my home.
Step back. We're coming in now.
ICE agent Nathan Cross believed he was executing a lawful immigration enforcement action on a Wednesday morning in December 2024. He arrived at a home in suburban Phoenix, Arizona with 3 other agents. No warrant. No court order. Just an anonymous tip claiming undocumented immigrants lived at that address. And when the family inside refused to open the door, he forced his way in anyway. The family was the Johnsons. Michael and Patricia Johnson, both born in Phoenix. Both U.S. citizens. Their 3 children, all American citizens. And every second of what happened next was captured on 4 different cameras. A neighbor's doorbell camera recorded the agent's arrival. The Johnson family's indoor security camera captured the forced entry. Their door camera recorded the confrontation at the entrance. And Agent Cross's body camera documented his own illegal actions. Footage that would eventually cost the federal government $30 million and end 4 federal careers in just over a year. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. And if stories like this need to be told, hit that subscribe button right now. Nathan Cross had been with ICE for 10 years. He joined in 2015, assigned to Phoenix in 2017. And over those 10 years, he developed a reputation for aggressive enforcement that his supervisors praised as dedication. But the numbers told a different story. Cross had been named in 11 formal complaints during his career, 11 separate allegations. 8 involved accusations of entering homes without proper legal authority. 3 alleged excessive force during residential enforcement actions. All 11 had been investigated. All 11 had been dismissed or closed without discipline. Internal ICE data that would later surface during litigation showed that Cross conducted 347 residential enforcement actions over 8 years in Phoenix. Of those 347 actions, only 94 resulted in actual immigration violations being found, a 27% success rate, which meant that 73% of the homes Cross entered, 253 homes, contained people who were legally in the United States. But Cross had a pattern. He targeted homes in middle-class neighborhoods, homes owned by Black and Hispanic families, homes where he assumed, based on nothing but the color of the residents' skin and anonymous tips, that undocumented immigrants must be hiding. And for 10 years, his supervisors let him do it. Because he was productive, because he made arrests, because the complaints never stuck. Until December 11th, 2024, when he forced his way into the home of a family of 5 American citizens, and 4 cameras captured every illegal step. 4 cameras recorded what happened at 2847 Desert Rose Drive that morning. The first camera belonged to the Johnsons' neighbor across the street, Karen Williams. She had a Ring doorbell camera mounted on her front door with a clear view of the Johnson house. That camera began recording the moment the 4 ICE vehicles pulled up at 7:42 a.m. The second camera was the Johnsons' own doorbell camera, a Nest camera mounted beside their front door. It captured a direct view of anyone standing at the entrance. High definition, clear audio, motion-activated recording that started the moment the agents approached. The third camera was inside the Johnson home, a security camera mounted in the living room near the entrance, installed 2 years earlier after a break-in on their street. It recorded continuously to a cloud server with 30-day backup. The fourth camera was Agent Nathan Cross's body camera, mandatory ICE equipment, recording from the moment he activated it in his vehicle until he deactivated it after leaving the home. For cameras, for perspectives, for irrefutable pieces of evidence showing exactly what happened when federal agents violated the constitutional rights of an American family. What none of the agents understood that morning was that those 4 cameras would create a record so damning that even ICE's own attorneys would eventually recommend immediate settlement rather than let the footage be played in federal court. It was 7:42 in the morning when 4 unmarked ICE vehicles pulled onto Desert Rose Drive. Karen Williams's Ring camera captured their arrival from across the street. 4 black SUVs. No emergency lights. No sirens. They parked in front of 2847, the Johnson house, and 8 agents stepped out, all wearing tactical vests with Police ICE in yellow letters across the front and back. Agent Nathan Cross led the team. Behind him, Agent Jennifer Martinez, Agent David Cole, and Agent Stephen Walsh. All 4 wore body cameras. Only Cross's was activated. The Johnson family was inside having breakfast. Michael Johnson, 41, an electrician for the city of Phoenix. Patricia Johnson, 38, a nurse at Phoenix Children's Hospital. Their 3 children, Marcus, age 12, Destiny, age 9, and little Emmanuel, age 4. All 5 American citizens. All 5 born in Phoenix. The Johnsons' doorbell camera captured the agents approaching. Cross in front. Martinez and Cole flanking him. Walsh slightly behind. All 4 walking with purpose up the driveway at 7:43 a.m. Cross rang the doorbell. The chime echoed inside the house. The indoor security camera captured Patricia in the kitchen, turning her head toward the sound. Michael was in the living room helping Marcus with his backpack for school. Patricia walked to the door. The indoor camera recorded her path, through the living room, past Michael and the kids, to the front entrance. She looked through the peephole. 8 agents. Tactical vests. Official looking. She did not open the door. She stood behind it. The doorbell camera captured her shadow visible through the frosted glass panel beside the door frame. "Can I help you?" Patricia called through the door. Her voice was calm, professional. The voice of someone who worked in emergency medicine and knew how to stay composed under pressure. "Immigration and Customs Enforcement," Cross said. His body camera recorded his own perspective, the closed door in front of him, his hand raised near the doorbell. "We need to speak with the occupants of this residence." "Open the door." "About what?" Patricia asked from inside. The doorbell camera's audio picked up her voice clearly through the door. "We have information that there are undocumented individuals living at this address," Cross said. "We need to verify the immigration status of everyone inside. Open this door now." Patricia's shadow shifted behind the frosted glass. The indoor camera showed her hand on the doorknob, but not turning it. Michael had walked up behind her now, standing in the hallway just out of view of the door. "This is my house," Patricia said through the door. "My family lives here. We're all citizens. You don't need to verify anything." "Ma'am, open the door," Cross said. His tone was firmer now. The body camera showed his hand moving from the doorbell to rest on the door frame. "Do you have a warrant?" Patricia asked. Cross's body camera recorded his response. A slight shake of his head, even though she couldn't see it. "We don't need a warrant for immigration enforcement. Open the door." "Last warning." "Yes, you do," Patricia said from behind the door. Her voice was firmer now, but still controlled. "This is my home. You can't come in without a warrant. I know my rights. I'm not opening this door." The doorbell camera showed Cross step closer to the door, his face now inches from the wood. "Ma'am, if you don't open this door voluntarily, we will make entry under our enforcement authority," Cross said. The indoor camera captured Michael stepping fully into view now, standing directly behind Patricia at the door. His voice was loud enough to be heard clearly through the wood. "Then you'll be breaking into our home," Michael shouted. "We're American citizens. We're not opening the door without a warrant. You need to leave our property." Cross turned to Martinez. The body camera captured the exchange, a nod between them. Martinez moved to Cross's left. Cole moved to his right. Walsh positioned himself slightly behind. Cross turned back to the door. "This is your final warning. Step back from the door. We're making entry." "You can't," Patricia started from inside. Cross didn't wait for her to finish. He pushed his shoulder into the door. Hard. The doorbell camera recorded the impact, the door shuttering but holding. The deadbolt was engaged. The indoor camera showed Patricia stumbling backward. Michael caught her, pulling her away from the door. Cross pushed again, harder this time. The door frame cracked. The wood around the deadbolt began to splinter. "Get the kids upstairs," Michael shouted. The indoor camera captured him pushing Patricia toward the stairs. "Now," Patricia ran. The camera showed her grabbing Emmanuel from his high chair, taking Destiny's hand, yelling for Marcus to follow. All 3 children and Patricia disappeared up the stairs as Cross hit the door a 3rd time. The deadbolt gave way. The door burst open. Cross stumbled through the entrance, catching himself on the door frame. Martinez followed immediately behind him. Then Cole. Then Walsh. All 4 cameras captured what happened next. Karen Williams's Ring camera across the street showed the agents flooding through the now open front door, the door hanging crooked on its hinges. The doorbell camera showed the splintered door frame, pieces of wood on the ground, the deadbolt mechanism broken and dangling. The indoor camera showed Cross entering the living room, his hand on his weapon, scanning the space. Cross's body camera showed his own perspective, the living room, toys on the floor, breakfast dishes still on the kitchen table, no people visible. "Federal agents," Cross shouted. "Everyone show yourselves." Now, The indoor camera captured Michael standing in the center of the living room, alone, his hands raised, his face a mixture of fury and fear. "My wife and children are upstairs," Michael said. His voice was shaking. "They're terrified. You just broke into our home. We're American citizens. This is illegal. Everyone needs to come down here," Cross said. His body camera showed him looking around the room, family photos on the walls, a cross above the fireplace, children's drawings stuck to the refrigerator with magnets. "Now, not until you show me a warrant," Michael said. Cross stepped closer to Michael. The body camera showed the distance closing, 6 feet, then 4, then 2. "Sir, we are conducting an immigration enforcement action. We have authority to be here. Get your family down here, or we'll go up and get them. They're children." Michael's voice cracked. "You just broke down our door? They're scared. Please, please just show me a warrant. Prove you have the right to be here." Cross didn't respond. Instead, he nodded to Walsh. "Check upstairs." Walsh moved toward the stairs. The indoor camera captured Michael stepping into his path. "Don't you go near my kids," Michael said. "Move aside," Walsh said. Michael didn't move. Walsh put his hand on Michael's shoulder and shoved him to the side. The indoor camera recorded Michael stumbling, catching himself on the couch. Walsh went upstairs. The indoor camera couldn't capture what happened up there, but the audio picked up everything. Footsteps. Doors opening. A woman's voice, Patricia, saying please don't hurt them. A child screaming, Emmanuel. Another child crying, Destiny. Cross turned to Michael. IDs. Everyone in this house. Now. My wallet is in the kitchen, Michael said. His voice was hollow now. Defeated. Can I get it? Cross nodded. His body camera followed Michael's movement into the kitchen. Michael opened a drawer, pulled out his wallet, handed Cross his driver's license with a shaking hand. Michael Anthony Johnson. Phoenix address. Born 1983. Where were you born? Cross asked. Phoenix, Michael said. Arizona. Right here. I've lived here my whole life. Cross said nothing. He handed the license to Martinez without looking at it. Walsh came back down the stairs at 7:51 a.m., 9 minutes after the forced entry. Cross's body camera captured his return. Behind Walsh came Patricia, carrying Emmanuel on her hip, holding Destiny's hand. Marcus walking behind them, his eyes red from crying. All 4 cameras captured the family together now. Michael standing near the kitchen, Patricia and the 3 children near the stairs. All of them looking at the 4 armed federal agents standing in their living room. IDs, Cross said to Patricia. Patricia's voice was barely above a whisper. My purse is upstairs. In my bedroom. Do you want me to get it, or are you going to go through my things? Cross nodded to Cole. Go with her. Patricia handed Emmanuel to Michael. Emmanuel was sobbing, his face buried in his father's shoulder. Patricia walked back upstairs with Cole following her. The indoor camera captured Michael standing there holding his son, his other 2 children pressed against his sides, all of them watching federal agents move through their home. Patricia came back down with her purse. She pulled out her wallet, handed Cross her license. Patricia Marie Johnson. Phoenix address. Born 1986. Birthplace. Cross asked. Phoenix, Arizona, United States of America, Patricia said. Each word deliberate. Clear. Do you want to see my birth certificate? My social security card? My nursing license? My passport? Cross handed her license to Martinez. Then he looked at the children. All 3 huddled around Michael and Patricia now. Emmanuel still crying. Destiny staring at the floor. Marcus looking at Cross with pure fear in his eyes. Birth certificates for the children, Cross said. Patricia closed her eyes. They're in a file box in our bedroom closet. Top shelf. You want me to get them, or are you going to ransack my house? I'll get them, Walsh said. He went back upstairs. The indoor camera audio picked up footsteps overhead. The sound of a closet door opening. Things being moved around. Patricia pulled Emmanuel from Michael's arms back into her own. She held him tight, her hand on the back of his head, whispering to him that it was okay, that it would be okay, that the bad men would leave soon. The doorbell camera's microphone, still active on the broken door, picked up her words. It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. They'll leave soon. Walsh came back down 3 minutes later. He was holding a blue file box. He opened it in the middle of the living room. Cross's body camera recorded the contents: birth certificates, social security cards, immunization records, school records. Walsh pulled out 3 birth certificates. Read each one aloud. Marcus Anthony Johnson. Born Phoenix, Arizona, May 14, 2012. Destiny Grace Johnson. Born Phoenix, Arizona, August 3, 2015. Emmanuel Michael Johnson. Born Phoenix, Arizona, January 19, 2021. Cross stood there. The body camera showed him looking at the family, at Michael and Patricia, at the 3 children, at the birth certificates in Walsh's hands, at the Arizona driver's licenses on the coffee table, at the family photos on the walls showing generations of the same family in Phoenix. He knew. The body camera captured it in his face. He knew he'd made a mistake. Check the rest of the house, Cross said quietly. Martinez went into the kitchen, opened cabinets, looked in the pantry. Cole went down the hallway, opened bedroom doors, looked in closets. Walsh went into the garage, opened the car, looked in the storage boxes on the shelves. They found nothing, because there was nothing to find. At 8:01 a.m., 19 minutes after forcing the door open, Cross turned to the family one last time. "You're free to go about your day," he said. Michael stared at him. "Free to go? This is our house. You're the ones who need to leave." Cross said nothing. He turned and walked toward the broken front door. Martinez followed. Cole followed. Walsh followed. All 4 agents walking out of the Johnson home, leaving the door hanging open, the frame splintered, the family standing in their living room in shock. The doorbell camera captured their exit. 4 agents walking down the driveway, getting into their vehicles, driving away as if nothing had happened. Karen Williams's Ring camera across the street captured all of it. The arrival, the forced entry, the 19 minutes inside, the exit, and inside 2847, Desert Rose Drive. The indoor camera captured Michael Johnson sinking onto the couch, his face in his hands, while Patricia held their 3 crying children and stared at the broken door. Should federal agents be able to break into anyone's home without a warrant? Comment below. Because what happened next would expose not just a legal entry, but a system that encouraged it. The Johnson family wasn't just any family. They were 3rd-generation Arizonans with deep roots in Phoenix. Michael Johnson was 41 years old, born at Good Samaritan Hospital in Phoenix in 1983. His parents, Robert and Dorothy Johnson, had moved to Phoenix from Louisiana in 1962 during the tail end of the Great Migration, seeking better opportunities and escaping the Jim Crow South. Michael grew up in South Phoenix. He attended public schools. He graduated from South Mountain High School in 2001. He went to Phoenix Community College and earned a certificate in electrical technology. He joined the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Union in 2004. By 2024, he had worked as a licensed electrician for the city of Phoenix for 18 years. He earned $74,000 a year. He had a pension, health benefits. He was a union steward. He coached Little League Baseball. He volunteered at his church. He had never been arrested, not even a traffic ticket in the last 6 years. Patricia Johnson was 38 years old, born at St. Joseph's Hospital in Phoenix in 1986. Her parents, James and Carol Mitchell, were both Phoenix natives. Her father had worked for the post office for 33 years. Her mother had been a teacher in the Phoenix Unified School District for 28 years. Patricia grew up in Maryvale. She attended public schools. She graduated from Maryvale High School as valedictorian in 2004. She went to Arizona State University on a nursing scholarship. She graduated with her BSN in 2008. She started working at Phoenix Children's Hospital as a registered nurse in 2009. By 2024, she had 15 years of nursing experience. She worked in the pediatric emergency department. She saved children's lives. She earned $86,000 a year. She had worked through the entire COVID-19 pandemic. She had been named Nurse of the Year at her hospital in 2022. She had never been arrested, never had any legal trouble. She was a registered voter. She paid her taxes. She owned her home. Michael and Patricia met in 2009. They married in 2011. They bought their house at 2847 Desert Rose Drive in 2012 for $238,000. By 2024, they had paid off half the mortgage. The house was worth $430,000. They had 3 children. Marcus, born in 2012. Destiny, born in 2015. Emmanuel, born in 2021. All 3 born at Banner Good Samaritan Hospital in Phoenix. All 3 American citizens from birth. All 3 with birth certificates, social security numbers, immunization records, school records. Marcus was in 7th grade. Honor roll student. He played basketball. He wanted to be a veterinarian. Destiny was in 4th grade. She loved reading. She was in the gifted program at her school. She wanted to be a teacher like her grandmother. Emmanuel was 3 years old. He went to preschool 3 days a week. He loved dinosaurs and trucks. He wanted to be a firefighter. This was the family that Agent Nathan Cross accused of harboring undocumented immigrants. This was the family whose home he invaded without a warrant. This was the family he terrorized on a Wednesday morning in December 2024. Because someone, some anonymous caller who was never identified, had called ICE and claimed there were illegal immigrants at that address. That was all it took. An anonymous tip. No verification. No investigation. No attempt to determine if the tip had any merit whatsoever. Just 4 federal agents breaking down the door of an American family's home and traumatizing 3 children because their parents were black and someone made a phone call. Patricia called 911 at 8:04 a.m. 3 minutes after the agents left. The 911 recording captured her voice, shaking, crying, trying to hold it together for her children while explaining that federal agents had just broken into her home without a warrant. "They broke our door," she told the dispatcher. "They forced their way in. We told them we're citizens. We told them we wouldn't open the door without a warrant. They broke it down anyway. Our children are terrified. Please send someone." Phoenix police arrived at 8:14 a.m., 10 minutes after IC left. 2 patrol officers, Officer Amanda Torres and Officer James Mitchell. They took statements from Michael and Patricia. They documented the broken door frame. They took photos of the splintered wood, the broken deadbolt, the damage to the entrance. They gave Michael and Patricia a case number, but they explained that they couldn't arrest federal agents, that this was a federal matter, that the Johnsons would need to contact a lawyer and file a complaint with ICE's Office of Professional Responsibility and with the Department of Justice. And then Officer Torres said something that changed everything. "Make sure you save all your camera footage. All of it. Don't let anyone erase it or claim it doesn't exist." Michael called his union representative at 8:47 a.m. The rep gave him the name of a civil rights attorney, Marcus Reed, a lawyer who specialized in federal civil rights violations and police misconduct cases. Michael called Reed's office at 9:03 a.m. Explain what happened. Reed told him to document everything. Save all the camera footage. Don't talk to ICE or anyone from the federal government without him present. Don't fix the door yet. Leave it as evidence. Reed agreed to take the case that same day. Patricia called Phoenix Children's Hospital and told them she wouldn't be coming in for her shift. She couldn't leave her children. Emmanuel wouldn't stop crying. Destiny was having a panic attack. Marcus was shut down, staring at the wall, not speaking. Karen Williams came over at 10:30 a.m. She brought her Ring camera footage saved to a USB drive. "I saw the whole thing," she told them. "I watched them break your door down. This was wrong. This was so wrong. Whatever you need, I'm here." By noon, Michael had compiled everything. Bullet operator all 4 camera recordings saved to multiple hard drives and cloud storage. Bullet operator photos of the broken door frame and deadbolt. Bullet operator the police report and case number. Bullet operator birth certificates for all 5 family members. Bullet operator social security cards. Bullet operator Patricia's nursing license. Bullet operator Michael's electrician license and union card. Bullet operator their mortgage documents showing ownership. Bullet operator tax returns for the past 6 years. Bullet operator voter registration cards. Bullet operator passport copies. Everything proving they were exactly who they said they were. American citizens, living in their own home, violated by federal agents who never should have been there. Reed came to the house at 2 p.m. He reviewed all the footage, all 4 camera angles. He watched the forced entry. He listened to Patricia ask for a warrant. He heard Cross refuse. He saw the door break. He heard the children crying. He reviewed all the documents. Then he sat down with Michael and Patricia at their kitchen table and said, "We're filing first thing tomorrow morning, and we're not settling for anything less than full accountability." The lawsuit was filed in the United States District Court for the District of Arizona on December 13, 2024, 2 days after the invasion. Michael Johnson, Patricia Johnson, Marcus Johnson, Destiny Johnson, and Emmanuel Johnson versus the United States of America, Agent Nathan Cross, Agent Jennifer Martinez, Agent David Cole, Agent Stephen Walsh, and the Department of Homeland Security. The charges were extensive. Violation of the Fourth Amendment, unlawful entry and search of a home without a warrant, probable cause, exigent circumstances, or consent. Violation of the Fifth Amendment, deprivation of liberty and property without due process of law. Violation of the 14th Amendment, denial of equal protection under the law based on race. assault and battery against 3 minor children, intentional infliction of emotional distress on all 5 family members, trespass and destruction of private property, and a pattern in practice claim alleging that ICE had systematically failed to train and supervise agents, allowing a culture of warrantless home invasions to persist despite clear constitutional violations. The evidence was overwhelming. For cameras, continuous footage, crystal clear audio, the entire illegal entry documented from multiple angles with precise timestamps. Cross's own body camera showed him at the door, showed him demanding entry without a warrant, showed him forcing the door open, showed him entering over explicit objection, showed him searching the home, showed him finding nothing. The neighbor's Ring camera showed the forced entry from across the street, federal agents breaking into a family's home in broad daylight. The doorbell camera showed the destruction, the splintered door frame, the broken deadbolt, the physical evidence of forced entry. The indoor camera showed 3 terrified children, showed Patricia begging them not to hurt her kids, showed Emmanuel sobbing in his mother's arms, showed a family's constitutional rights being trampled. All of it time-stamped. All of it preserved on multiple devices and cloud servers. All of it irrefutable. The federal government knew they couldn't defend this, but they tried anyway. They filed a motion to dismiss in January 2025, claiming the agents had qualified immunity. The judge denied the motion, writing, "No reasonable officer could believe that forcing entry into a home without a warrant, probable cause, exigent circumstances, or consent is lawful. Qualified immunity does not apply." They claim the entry was lawful under immigration enforcement authority. The judge called that argument legally baseless and factually offensive given the clear video evidence. They claimed the family had somehow consented to the entry by speaking through the door. The judge reviewed the footage and wrote, "The record shows the exact opposite. Ms. Johnson explicitly refused to open the door without a warrant. The agents then broke the door down by force. This was not consent. This was home invasion." Every defense motion was denied. Every legal argument collapsed. The case was heading to trial. Then the settlement offer started. Should agents who break into homes without warrants face criminal charges? Drop your thoughts below. The federal government made their first settlement offer in February 2025, $2.5 million. Marcus Reed refused on behalf of the family within an hour. "This case is worth far more than that," Reed told the government's attorneys. 4 cameras captured your agents committing a felony, breaking and entering, home invasion, terrorizing children. You violated every constitutional right this family has. $2.5 million doesn't even begin to address the harm you caused. The government came back in May 2025 with a second offer, $8 million. Reed refused again. "We're not negotiating," Reed told the press outside the courthouse. "This family wants accountability. They want to make sure no other family ever has to experience what they experienced. Money alone doesn't accomplish that." In September 2025, the government offered $15 million. Reed sat down with the Johnson family, explained the offer, explained that if they went to trial, they might get more, or they might get less. Juries were unpredictable. Michael and Patricia talked about it for 3 days. They consulted with their children. Marcus and Destiny were old enough to understand what had happened. They prayed about it. They discussed it with their extended family. Then they told Reed, "We're going to trial. This isn't just about money. This is about making sure the world sees what these agents did. About making sure it never happens again." Reed smiled. "Then we go to trial." The trial was scheduled for February 2026. 2 weeks before trial, something happened that changed everything. The Department of Justice Office of Inspector General released an internal investigative report on ICE operations in the Phoenix area. The report had been commissioned after the Johnson lawsuit was filed, triggered by the public outrage over the 4-camera footage that had been leaked to the press. The findings were devastating. Over a 3-year period from 2021 to 2024, ICE agents in the Phoenix field office had conducted 4,847 warrantless residential entries. Of those 4,847 entries, only 1,253 resulted in actual immigration violations being found, a 25.8% success rate, which meant that ICE had illegally broken into approximately 3,594 homes containing people who were legally in the United States. The report also found that Agent Nathan Cross personally accounted for 347 of those entries, the highest number of any agent in the office. and his success rate was even worse than the office average. Only 94 of his 347 entries resulted in violations, a 27% success rate. The report documented a pattern of targeting based on race and neighborhood demographics rather than actual evidence of immigration violations. It showed that supervisors had ignored repeated complaints. It revealed that agents had been rewarded with promotions and bonuses based on the number of enforcement actions they conducted, regardless of whether those actions were lawful or resulted in actual violations. When the report was released on January 20th, 2026, the response was immediate and explosive. Civil rights organizations erupted. The ACLU announced they were filing a class action lawsuit on behalf of every family whose home had been illegally entered. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus and Congressional Black Caucus held a joint press conference demanding criminal investigations and the resignation of ICE leadership. 3 U.S. senators introduced legislation to require judicial warrants for all residential immigration enforcement actions. The Johnson family's case became the centerpiece of the national conversation. The 4-camera footage was played on every major news network. CNN ran a special report analyzing each camera angle. MSNBC interviewed constitutional law experts who called the entry one of the clearest violations of Fourth Amendment rights ever captured on video. Even Fox News legal analysts said the government had no defense. The hashtag Justice for the Johnsons trended for 9 days straight. Over 15 million people watched the footage online. Protests were held outside ICE offices in 12 cities. On January 22, 2026, 1 week before trial was set to begin, the Department of Justice requested an emergency settlement conference. The mediation lasted 2 days, January 23rd and 24th, 2026. On January 27th, 2026, 3 days before the trial was scheduled to begin, the government agreed to settle for $30 million. It was the largest civil rights settlement in ICE history for a single family. But Marcus Reed and the Johnson family had demanded more than money. They demanded systemic change. And they got it. The settlement included immediate termination of all 4 agents involved in the illegal entry. Nathan Cross, Jennifer Martinez, David Cole, and Stephen Walsh were fired within 72 hours of the settlement being signed. Their federal law enforcement certifications were permanently revoked. They would never work in law enforcement again. Mandatory judicial warrant requirement for all residential immigration enforcement actions nationwide. No ICE agent could enter a private residence without a warrant signed by a federal judge unless there were genuine exigent circumstances that had to be documented in writing and reviewed by a supervisor before entry. Creation of a comprehensive constitutional rights training program for all ICE agents. 80 hours of mandatory training on the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, and 14th Amendment. Annual recertification required with testing to ensure agents understood the law. Independent Civilian Oversight Board with subpoena power to investigate complaints of illegal home entries. The board would include civil rights attorneys, constitutional law experts, and community members. They would have the authority to recommend discipline and termination. Public quarterly reporting of all residential enforcement actions broken down by number of entries, number that resulted in violations found, number conducted with warrants versus without, demographic data on neighborhoods targeted, and complaint data. All data to be published online for public review. Zero tolerance policy for constitutional violations. Any agent found to have entered a home without proper legal authority would be terminated immediately. No warnings. No second chances. Victim compensation fund of $50 million to compensate other families whose homes had been illegally entered by ICE in Arizona over the previous 3 years. Families could apply for compensation without having to file lawsuits. Destruction of the door replacement and home security upgrade paid for by the federal government for the Johnson family, plus compensation for all therapy and medical expenses for all 5 family members for the next 10 years. All of it became official policy. All because one family refused to accept that federal agents could break down their door and violate their rights without consequence. The civil settlement didn't end the consequences. On February 3, 2025, less than 2 months after the home invasion, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office announced criminal charges against Nathan Cross for felony counts: bullet operator burglary in the first degree, home invasion with intent to commit a crime, bullet operator criminal trespass in the first degree, bullet operator criminal damage to property, Bullet operator endangerment of minors, 3 counts, 1 for each child. Each count carried potential prison time. The burglary charge alone carried a minimum of 7 years. Cross pled not guilty. His attorney argued he was acting under federal authority, that he believed he had the legal right to enter the home under immigration enforcement powers. The trial lasted 8 days in October 2025. The prosecution played all 4 camera angles on large screens in the courtroom. The jury watched Cross demand entry. They heard Patricia ask for a warrant. They heard Cross say he didn't need one. They watched him break down the door. They heard the children crying. They saw Emmanuel sobbing in his mother's arms. They watched Cross search the home and find nothing but birth certificates proving everyone inside was a U.S. citizen. Patricia testified for 6 hours over 2 days. She described hearing the doorbell, looking through the peephole and seeing federal agents, refusing to open the door because they had no warrant, hearing the door crash open, grabbing her children and running upstairs, begging the agents not to hurt her babies. The nightmares she'd had every night since. The way Emmanuel still woke up screaming. The way Destiny was terrified of anyone in a uniform. Michael testified for 4 hours. He described standing in his living room with his hands up while armed men searched his home. The humiliation of having to prove he was a citizen in his own house. The fury of watching his children cry while federal agents went through their belongings. The violation of having strangers break into the home he'd worked 18 years to afford. The children didn't testify. The judge ruled they were too young and too traumatized. But their therapist testified about their ongoing PTSD, anxiety, and fear. The jury deliberated for 9 hours over 2 days. Guilty on all counts. Cross was sentenced to 6 years in state prison in November 2025. The judge who sentenced him said, "You violated the most fundamental right Americans have, the right to be secure in their own homes. You ignored explicit requests for a warrant. You used force to break down a door. You terrorized 3 children. And you did it all while wearing a badge and claiming authority you did not have. The evidence shows you knew you were wrong. You did it anyway. And now you will face the consequences." Martinez, Cole, and Walsh were not criminally charged, but their careers in federal law enforcement were over. None of them would ever wear a badge again. The Johnson case changed immigration enforcement across America. Within 4 months of the settlement, 9 other federal district courts had issued rulings citing Johnson versus United States as binding precedent for requiring warrants in residential immigration enforcement actions. The case became mandatory training at every federal law enforcement academy in the country. The 4-camera footage is shown to every new ICE agent, every new FBI agent, every new DEA agent, every new federal marshal. It's used as the textbook example of what happens when agents violate constitutional rights, of how breaking the law doesn't just harm families, it destroys careers, costs millions, and lands agents in prison. Congress passed the Residential Rights Protection Act in September 2025, codifying into federal law the requirement that immigration enforcement agents obtain judicial warrants before entering private residences except in genuine life-threatening emergencies that must be documented and reviewed. Michael and Patricia Johnson used part of the settlement money to establish the Johnson Family Constitutional Rights Defense Fund. The fund provides free legal representation to families targeted by warrantless immigration enforcement actions. In its first year, it helped 143 families across 7 states. The money also paid for extensive therapy for all 5 family members. Emmanuel, now 4, is slowly healing. He still has nightmares sometimes, but they're less frequent. Destiny, now 9, is back to reading again, though she still gets anxious around people in uniforms. Marcus, now 13, has started talking about becoming a civil rights lawyer when he grows up. Michael and Patricia use some of the settlement to pay off their mortgage completely. The house at 2847 Desert Rose Drive is fully theirs now. They installed a new security door, steel reinforced, with 3 deadbolts. They added 4 more security cameras. They keep copies of their documents in a fireproof safe and in cloud storage. They still live there. They're not leaving. Because as Patricia said in an interview 6 months after the settlement, "This is our home. We're not letting what happened to us drive us out of the place we've built our lives." Nathan Cross is in prison. Cell Block D, Arizona State Prison. 6 years. His career destroyed. His reputation ruined. All because he looked at a house in a nice neighborhood and assumed that the black family inside must be hiding something illegal. The Johnson family won $30 million. systemic reforms, criminal prosecution, justice. But they also lost something. They lost their sense of safety. They lost their children's innocence. They lost the peace of mind that comes from believing your home is a place where the government can't reach you without cause. Michael Johnson said it best in a CNN interview. "We did everything right. We were born here. We work hard. We pay our taxes. We raise our kids to respect the law. We own our home." And none of that mattered. Because when those agents looked at us, all they saw was our skin color. And they decided that was enough reason to break down our door. For cameras caught every second. For cameras documented every violation. For cameras proved what happened beyond any doubt. The neighbor's Ring camera, the doorbell camera, the indoor security camera, the agent's own body camera. All four showed the same truth. Federal agents broke into an American family's home without a warrant, without cause, and without conscience. And all four cameras delivered justice. If you believe no family should ever have their home invaded without a warrant, hit that subscribe button right now. Share the story. Let people know what happened to the Johnsons. Because the only way to make sure this never happens again is to make sure everyone knows it happened in the first place. Drop a comment below. Have you or someone you know ever experienced anything like this? Your story matters. Thanks for watching.